Hello everybody, in this video I have a scrapbook process to share with you with the Thompson's Craft Supplies design team. This is my first project with my June kit, which the main feature of which is the Minte Papers Beauty in Bloom paper pack. It's really bright, so many florals, very springy florals, pinks and yellows and things. It is gorgeous. So with this first project, I am mostly concentrating on lots and lots of fussy cutting. This paper pack, as well as having the usual fussy cutting sheet that the Minte paper packs have, there's also two of this paper right here, which is just a load of florals and also perfect for fussy cutting. So that's pretty much all I really add to this particular layout, just in different ways. So yeah, I'm starting off doing all that fussy cutting. I fussy cut maybe a third of that page, maybe slightly less. I'm not sure. There's so many different elements on it. I decided on my background paper actually really quickly. For me, just something about it felt right for that picture, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. For back in the picture, I just thought I'd use a couple of the frame cutter parts. It was too big to use one, so I cut out two, but then it was too big for two, so I decided what I would do is cut the two in half, well not in half, just cut the two apart and then overlap them to make a backing like that. But first I'm just going to add a little bit of stamping in the background just to obviously the background is really busy anyway, you don't really need to add lots of things, but I just like to add a few bits and pieces to really make it my own. So first off, using this Kaiser Craft texture stamp, which is like a butterfly on a, is it called a trellis? No, like a thing that flowers climb up in gardens and stuff. I can't think of the word right now, I'm having a brain blank. But then also using this Prima stamp, which is like slightly messy writing. So just having a little bit of that in the background, using Stays on Dove Grey for that because it is archival safe, so it's going to deal with anything I put on top of it. And also it's a nice warm grey, which goes like really well with what try again with the colour scheme of the whole thing. I'm just going around the edges of my frames there with some Distress Oxide in Tattered Rose, just so there's a little bit of some colour, but it's not too in your face. And I distressed the edges of those frames as well, just making a mark there to know how much I wanted to overlap those two pieces before I stuck them down. And I don't think I stick the photo on it just yet. I wanted to do some more experimenting first. So I knew I was just going to kind of cover a lot of the layout with all my fussy cut flowers, but I wanted to have some sort of backing's not quite the right word, but just something underneath the flowers to give it a little bit more interest and depth and texture. So I thought I would use some tulle. So while waiting for my hot glue gun to warm up there, I'm adding a little bit of the Dina Wakley acrylic paint in Carnation that was in my kit, just a tiny bit, and then using a scrap piece of card to scrape it across, and it dries pretty much instantly, so I didn't have to dry that. And then adding my tulle kind of like so it's all bunched up, and that's why I'm using the hot glue gun rather than gel medium or something, because I need it to dry almost instantly to get that bunched up effect with the tulle. If I used something more slow drying, like I said, gel medium, you wouldn't get that bunched up effect because it wouldn't hold quickly enough. So when I add fussy cut elements to layouts, I 99% of the time use an ink, usually an oxide, to go around those fussy cut elements just to, it does multiple things. It adds a little bit more colour, it hides any maybe awkward bits where you maybe haven't cut them as well, or if you've left a white halo around where you've done the fussy cutting, and it can also tie things like in together with colours from the background and things like this. But as I was going to add so many different elements, I thought let's not just use one colour, let's use multiple. So I grabbed 3 different oxides. I've got Cracked Pistachio, Spun Sugar and Squeezed Lemonade, because they're all kind of colours that are in the background of the layout, and I'm going to alternate between them. I did just distress the edges of my photo and added Cracked Pistachio, I think, around the edges of that before I stuck that down, and I'm going to start putting down all my fussy cut elements. Now at any moment soon it's going to super speed up to like 600% because I thought you might want to see the process of how all the flowers went down. Here I go, I think it's speeding up now. But if I kept it at my usual kind of like 2.5 times sped up, we would be here for days. So yes, that's what I've done. As I said, I'm kind of alternating between the colours, not really thinking too much about what colour will go best with which fussy cut piece. I do that to a certain extent, like I don't necessarily put yellow around the daffodils because that's not going to show up as much, but generally speaking I'm just doing it randomly. And oh, here we are super sped up now. Part of the reason I kept my glue gun out instead of going back to my normal gel medium is that using the glue gun, because obviously the way the glue gun dries is, I can't think of the word for it, but you know, hot glue is thick and when it dries it's solid, so when you use it on elements like this, you get a bit of 3D-ness to them. So there was quite a lot of different layers going on and the flowers were all sticking up, and I didn't have to worry about like backing some with foam and not backing others with foam and so on. And I just really like the way that worked out. It is a pain because you know those little stringy bits you get with hot glue, they really annoy me. So when the layout was like done later on, I did go over it and peel off all those little stringy bits. I think it might be because I don't have a very good quality hot glue gun, maybe, but I don't feel like I use it enough to get a really good one. But yeah, anyway, that's just a random thing about how the stringy bits annoy me. I basically went from biggest to smallest on these little fussy cut pieces, and yeah, just kept going. The picture, as I said I would mention, it was taken some point last year, I can't think when. There's me and my mum and dad, and then some very close family friends. The person whose house we were at is a very close family friend. You know those family friends who are basically family. She was moving away, and we always used to have little gatherings and meals at her house, and it was our last time in her house before she moved away, so it's quite a special little occasion. And even though I think it was taken closer to winter maybe than what this layout would imply, there's a lovely floral picture in the background and stuff, and I thought it would go nicely with this collection. I used, if you can hear that noise in the background, that's my little brother. I better go see what he wants. And I'm back. For anyone who doesn't know, there might be some more noises in the background. My little brother has learning disabilities. I say little brother, he's 28, but he's trying to be funny and making loads of noise. He's totally fine, but just being noisy. So anyways, what was I saying? I was talking about the picture. I think I was pretty much done talking about the picture. I wanted to overlap a couple of the fussy cut pieces just slightly over the picture, kind of bring it all in together, and I used a couple of those little sort of petal rosebuddy looking things just to place randomly on the layout, kind of as if they're like falling from those little clusters. And then here I wanted to add some sequins. I said in one of my real-time scrapbook videos a couple of weeks ago that I haven't used sequins in ages, and I used to use them all the time, so I just wanted to bring them into a layout. These ones are a mix of, they're kind of like pink and a pale yellow and peachy tones, so I've just added them all over just as you would add like Nouveau drops or something. And then I'm also adding some of these matte white sequins as well. I thought they would work really nicely with the whole overall tone. When I am done with the sequins, I am going to pull out some chipboard words to use for my title. Now, I can't remember at this time of recording what brand or whatever they are from. I know I bought them from Thompson's Craft Supplies, but I can't remember the brand or anything. So I will message Louise and ask her, and she'll be able to help out, and the correct thing will probably be linked. So I'm going with Cherish Good Times as my title because, you know, kind of meaningful that that was our last time in that house. I'm going to paint the chipboard word with that Dina Wakley acrylic paint again and again. That dries so quickly I didn't have to bother getting the heat tool out. And then after I stuck it on, you can see my Cherish broke as well. They are very delicate little pieces. They come in a 12 by 12 piece of chipboard and you pop them out, and I thought it would be really clever to pop them all out and have them in a little bag. I thought that would be easier somehow. No, don't do that. Keep them in the 12 by 12 because otherwise they just get all broken and stuff in a bag, and it's not one of my best ideas. But yes, I decided to stick those words kind of starting from the bottom right. I thought that was the best space for them, and then once they were on, it kind of looks okay on camera, but in person it was just a bit too pink, like in your face pink. So I'm going to take the metallic wax from my kit, which is I'm totally blanking on the name. It's rose gold wax. It's so freaking sparkly, you would not believe it. But I just dry brushed some of that on, and it just, even though it's sparkly, because of the rose gold colour, it just kind of toned it down a bit, gave a slight vintagey vibe to it, and it was less, you know, whoa, pink in your face. And now it looks kind of dirty on camera, but I promise you it works, you know, with the naked eye. And then I'm just going to finish off with a few splatters. I'm going to use Distress Oxide Spray in Spun Sugar, because I've already got that colour on the layout. And then of course with my white splatters, because I have to have white splatters, I'd have no choice, I just have to do it. And I carefully splattered a few around the edge of the photo, because there was a lot of empty space in that photo of like the top of the wall and stuff, and just having the splatters come into the photo I think can make it look like really well rounded and make everything sort of matchy. And yes, now I'm starting to ramble off, so I'm going to shut up and go. Thank you so much for watching. As always, links down in the description box, link to corresponding blog post, all of those things will be there available. Thank you so much for watching again. Please leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Chat to me down in the comments. I am going. Bye bye!